I think we're live. I'm just going to pop on over to the Facebook group and see if we are live indeed. I love technology.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Here we go. And especially with my son on Zoom and my husband on Zoom and everybody on Zoom, and it's pulling all kinds of bandwidth from the house. It's coming up. There we are. So, good morning, good afternoon, where Barbara is. I am so thankful that you joined us today for Bold Breakthroughs. And I wanted to introduce Miss Barbara Klein. So let me go ahead and read a short bio, and then we can get started right away. So Barbara Klein is the love coach. She discovered her passion for helping people at a young age. Through her roller coaster journey, she has been a diligent student, discovering who she is and understanding human behavior. Although life has thrown her many curveballs, she has persevered with a happy and positive attitude. She transformed her career to become a dating and life coach after she met her forever love. She's the owner of the Best You Dating and Life Coaching, where she loves helping singles who are frustrated and lonely by teaching them how to discover their own self-worth so they can fall in love with someone they are aligned with. She knows the online dating world can be scary. She's here to help you through the experience and come out feeling successful and in love. She also enjoys networking, interviewing interesting people, and spending her time with her family and forever love. Oh, what a wonderful introduction. And it's all true. Good morning, good afternoon, Ms. Barbara. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I met Barbara in a coaching program, which just goes to show that even coaches need coaches, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody needs to see someone to see our blind spots. So take us on the journey of how your company came to be.
So, it has been an evolution. And I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit where I've had other businesses. And so when I became single almost 9 years ago, I realized I needed to figure out who I really was, because it was the first time in my life that I was alone. My children were grown. I was no longer living with either my husband or a boyfriend. And I was the one who had total control of my life now. And so I figured out who I was and decided that I did want to start dating again, but I wanted to do it in a better way. But I kept seeing my struggles. So I was reaching out to people that weren't necessarily the right kind of place to reach out to. Like at first, I didn't know that there were dating coaches. Mm-hmm. So I went to like matchmakers, and they didn't help me figure out what I was doing wrong or what I needed to do differently or how I needed to show up differently. And so spending lots of money on things that weren't serving me was very frustrating. So all of a sudden, the universe works in mysterious ways. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, on my Facebook feed, near Valentine's Day, there was a offer by a dating coach for a contest. And so I applied, mm-hmm. and I won, and we had a consultation, and it was so wonderful to communicate with somebody who made me feel heard and understood, and acknowledged all the struggles I was having, because I'm pretty self-aware. And I've gone through a lot of life journey of self-discovery, so that this was just like another step, but it was different than being in therapy. So it really made a big difference. I saw what I was doing that was not serving me, and I saw what I could do that would serve me. And even though it still took a couple years, the experiences of the newer dates that I was having were much better and better quality people, etc. So as I continued this journey, I would say to my girlfriends, well, when I find my forever love, I want to teach other people how to do this.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so that is how it evolved, because after I met my boyfriend, I was in a job that I wasn't aligned with. And I thought, now is the time to jump. And so I jumped. And it's been almost 2 years.
Wow. Wow. I'm really glad that you brought up the point of spending time by yourself, because I think that we all either know someone or we have been that someone who goes from relationship to relationship to relationship looking for that outside validation. Instead of, I always find that there's so much growth and there's so much power in the silence, right? And I did the same thing. I spent time alone because I thought, I keep finding the wrong people here. And I know that it's, I'm the common factor in all of this, right? So there's something, I certainly don't deserve the guys I'm dating, but there's some reason why I keep attracting that type of guy. So I did that too. I spent a lot of time alone and really validating myself internally. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think that that lays a big, strong foundation for when you do go out into the dating world, because the dating world navigated alone can be a scary place.
Mm-hmm.
I did that
Yeah.
too. I found my husband on an online dating service as well, and it was great. But that's a scary place to go alone. So I wish I had
Mm-hmm.
had a dating coach at that time.
Yeah. I will tell
Mm-hmm.
you, in that realm that you're talking about, when my husband passed away, I was 39 years old, 100 pounds overweight,
Mm-hmm.
and the grief process that I was going through was so uncomfortable. And the other side of my brain was saying, who's going to love me now?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on a online dating journey that was not a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up meeting the guy that I dated for 14 years organically. And so he served a purpose at the time. But as things progressed, I realized as the relationship went on, um, and he moved in after 9 years, and we were together for 14 total, I realized how unaligned we were. But I couldn't see it back then. As I continued my evolution, that's when I was able to see it. And I knew
Mm-hmm.
when I got out of that relationship, I knew what I didn't want. I figured out what I did want, but I couldn't make it work through how I was showing up. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why the coaching was so valuable for me, because it opened my eyes to a whole different level of experience about not only myself, but about others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that point. I love that point. And I love that you also bring up the point that he wasn't, I think a lot of times we go into dating is thinking, this is the one, right? We're on the first date with someone. This is the one, he's it. In your mind, you're picking out China patterns and you're just having coffee, right? So I really love that you were like, he served a purpose, right? So I think
Mhm,
that the more you can look at dating with that frame of reference as,
mhm.
don't look at it as the end all be all. Just go into it with a sense of curiosity, right? That this might be somebody that can teach me something about myself, or we can become friends, or I can find out something about the world that I didn't know before. So I love that you bring that up, because it's not the end all be all.
That's absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always gone through my life with the question, what am I supposed to learn from this experience?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
even with the, we'll say, 100 first dates I went on in 6 years, that was the question I asked. What am I supposed to
Mm-hmm.
learn from meeting this person?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I love that idea. So I wanted to find out from you, what are the three top tips that you can give people who are feeling frustrated with making a connection with someone online?
So, I gave that a lot of thought. And the first thing I thought about was that people are lonely. and
Mm-hmm.
therefore they will allow the wrong people to come into their inner circle. I certainly experienced that multiple times through my
Mm-hmm.
dating experience. So before I hired the dating coach, I did have, multiple dates with one or multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a learning experience about why that person was not the right person for me, but I allowed them in my inner circle for a short time. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the first thing I thought about. The second thing I thought about was, um, are you projecting a positive or negative attitude with your written information on your profile?
Mm, right, right,
Nobody,
right, right.
yeah, because nobody wants to hang out with a negative Nelly. And, and the things that surprised me when I was reading other people's profiles is like, okay, so I'm heterosexual. So I'm talking about meeting men. They would say, you know, no drama. Well, what does that mean? Yeah, we all know what drama is. And, you know, I certainly try to minimize the drama in my life, but that doesn't mean drama doesn't happen. So you can't say no drama
Mhm.
because we all create drama.
Right,
Just turn on the
right.
news. It's just one big drama, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I always
So
said that I think anyone over the age of 18 has baggage, and you just have to find someone whose baggage matches your baggage, right? We all have drama
right.
of some sort in our lives. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So
Hmm.
that was one of the things that I find is very important is
Hmm.
to have a positive online profile, written profile.
Okay.
And then the third thing is knowing that it's a marathon, not a
Ah,
sprint. Like I said, I went on like 100 first dates, talked to many, go on a lot of first dates, and be patient. Don't
mm.
allow your emotions to run the show. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I can remember, so I was on Match.com, and I remember you could see when it would say, John Doe is online right now. And I remember getting home from a date, and I would go run to Match.com, and I would look and I think, John Doe's online, right? He just dropped me off. We just had a date. And I'm thinking, oh, you're online too, right? But it is that psychology. That's why it's so important to not navigate it by yourself, because
Mhm.
it's speed dating, really. I mean,
Right.
it's imagine
Yeah.
if you were going into a bar and picked out 100 people, and then you dated them all. How long did you say it was? 2 years, 6 months? How long was your time period?
Um, 6 years.
6 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I love online dating so much is because you had mentioned that you were, a little bit older when your husband passed away. Well, it's very difficult. When I met my husband, I was 33. So it's very difficult to go on a first date and ask him, are you interested in having children? Because A, that's probably not appropriate. B, he's like, whoa, big red flag, right? But if you can look in his profile and see, oh, he might be interested in having children one day, right? That just cuts out maybe 6 dates right off the bat. Or you can find out what kind of music he's into, and what kind of,
Mhm.
if he's got any kind of denomination that he goes to, or if what he does for a living, if he likes traveling. So I called him. He was like my Franken bride. He was the person that I put together, right? I said I want a little of this and a little of that and a little of this, and put it all together. So I love online dating. But if I had had you in my back pocket, I could have saved myself a lot of interesting dates. Let's just say interesting dates. So how has the online landscape changed? Because it's been out for quite a while. I've been married for 14 years. So how has, what are the changes that are happening now that people should be aware of, or kind of red flags, or their spidey sense tingles a little bit when they see these things come up?
Um, so you know how you mentioned that you would go back on after being dropped off and it would show that he was on there? Well, today, so back then, apps were not as used,
Oh, no.
or maybe they didn't exist back then, but now they are. So if you have the app on your phone,
Mhm.
um, you will, that will be that they're on all the time. So you don't know
Ah.
if they're on or not. Okay. So, so that's a factor.
Mhm, mhm,
Now with the apps, because matches basically, yes, you can have an app, but it is an
mhm,
online kind of program. But
mhm.
there's Hinge and there's Tinder and there's Bumble, and those are just apps. You might be able to
Uh-huh.
access them from a computer, but they're designed to be used just as an app.
Mhm,
And so those are different kinds of experiences. Now, Hinge was not around when I was dating.
mhm.
I was on Bumble and I thought that was interesting. I was on Tinder. You know, people say, like, so, the guy I met on Tinder, this is how that went. So we communicated for a while. We finally met and sat and talked in a bar restaurant for probably a couple hours. And then he walked me to my car, and then he started to think that something was going to happen at the car. And I'm like, I don't do that.
Mhm.
And he said, but I met you on Tinder. That's a hookup site. And I'm like, you know what? You may think it's a hookup site, but I'm not
Mhm.
here to hook up. So, you know,
Yep.
so those are the kind of experiences that you may have now that you might not have had 10 years ago
Yep.
or 20 years
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
So, yeah, so it's totally different now than it
Mhm,
was back
mhm.
then. Being older versus a younger person who's just starting out in the relationship world, I think they're totally different experiences. You're
Mm.
absolutely right. When I was 39, 40 and going online, well, there weren't children going to be happening in my life. I already had
Right.
two. I was done having children. But that doesn't mean that every 39, 40-year old female is done having children
Mhm,
or may not have any at that point and may want to. So there's so many variables, so many things that will um, give people opportunities or obstacles in
mhm,
their
mhm,
dating world. And,
mhm.
you know, let's talk a little bit about
Ah,
mistakes that
please.
people make.
Yep.
So, um, I think it's important for people to be clear about what they want. And you can state that in your dating profile. So, not only do you want to at least say, like, let's just say you're a younger person and you are looking for the creation of a family and to get married and all that. So,
Mhm,
you can say, my ideal dreams for being on here is to find, if it's a man, if you're looking for a man, the man of my dreams,
mhm,
that we, create a beautiful home together and bring beautiful children into this world in
mhm,
order to, make our family whole or whatever. It's okay to say that.
mhm,
You're being honest. That way, if somebody who is just interested in being a player is there, they should brush right by you because you're
mhm,
not what they want.
mhm,
So
mhm,
that's an example of stating what you really want. Be clear.
mhm,
Also, who are you trying to attract into your life? Um, and it's important to know what you're trying to attract
mhm,
in your life. You know, be it someone to marry. It's important to know whether you want to get married or not. It's important to know is this somebody you want to, are you looking to live with someone?
Mm-hmm.
Are you just looking to date, to just have a companion? Are you looking for a relationship, but not necessarily marriage? I mean, at my
Mm-hmm.
age, marriage is not important enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not having kids. I'm done with that. I've been there, done that. So, if my boyfriend would move to that level, I'd be open to that because
Mm-hmm.
I feel connected to him in a way that I'd be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
in my head, I'm like, it's not necessary. I'm okay with not being married at this
Mm-hmm.
age.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just me, but that's not everybody. Some
Right.
people have different morals, etc., that would precipitate them to want to be married if they were in a committed relationship. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is about staying clear headed. Like I said earlier, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So, what I mean
Mm-hmm.
by being clear headed is don't allow your mind to do the what if games. Like you said, picking out the China pattern, and you've only just met the person, you know, because it's just a head game that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows your emotions to get too involved in the process of whether this person is the right type of person for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you think about, oh, this person would be a great person to get married to, would be a great relationship, would be so wonderful, we could do all these great things, but you've only gone on one or two dates. It's
Mm-hmm.
not time to think like that. It's time
Mm-hmm.
to figure out and be aware with open eyes about the possibility of red flags, the things that make you go, I'm not really sure anymore. They'll, because remember, as people become more comfortable with each other, more things come out. Or maybe, my boyfriend hates it, but I'm a questioning person. I want to know,
Yep.
and so I will ask questions. And so because I do want to understand, I do want to know,
Mm-hmm.
I want to get the sense of who the person is, why they are the way they are. I mean, I don't ask it the way I'm saying it, but uh, because if somebody is, we'll just say, a domineering kind of person,
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of person I was trying to avoid. Okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine. I don't have a problem going with the flow suggestions by my boyfriend, hey, let's do this or let's do that, but don't try to control me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been
Mm-hmm.
there. I don't want that. That's not what I want. And he doesn't. And I don't try to control him either. If I
Mm-hmm.
have a suggestion, I will make the suggestion. If he has a suggestion, he'll make the suggestion. Whether he does it or not, whether I do it or not, those are our choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm talking about just stay clear-headed.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware, keep your eyes open and your ears open to make sure that this person that you're just starting to get to know is really aligned with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware of your past relationships and how they served you and how they didn't serve you. That's very important. And that was one of the things that I did. I knew what was not serving me any longer in those past relationships, and I knew what I did want. And I worked really
Mm-hmm.
hard to get what I wanted. And it is
Mm-hmm.
possible to get what you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if a person is struggling, feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, talk with someone who can help you, like me,
Mm-hmm.
a dating coach, You'd be surprised the little things that we do with our that I do with my clients that makes such a difference really
Mm-hmm.
quickly. Could be mindset, could be just thought processes about what you don't even realize you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and how you're showing up. When I first started dating back during that 6-year process, I know for sure that I was showing up needy and I was being way too pushy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to
Mm-hmm.
see that for myself in order to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what one of the things my dating coach was able to show me. So it
Mm-hmm.
is really important to have support and guidance in order to know that you can be successful in this
Mm-hmm.
crazy, scary dating online world.
Yeah, and I think that really goes back to having that solid foundation about who you are as a person. Because I think that when we start to date, if we're coming from a place of desperation, we will compromise our values like that. So I remember when I first met my husband, and I thought, I've done it one way all my life, and look at the men that are attracted into my life. I'm going to try it a different way. And so I remember he called me on a Saturday afternoon and said, "Hey, what are you doing tonight? You want to go out on a date?" And I said, "No, I'm going to the gym." And could I have rescheduled that? Absolutely. But that was my time. And I thought, if you don't want to give me any more consideration than calling me 2 hours before you want to see me, then no, that's not the type of person I want. And he said, "Oh, okay, that's cool. I could appreciate that." And we made plans for the following weekend. And then I was sending him the signal that I thought enough of myself to say no, right? And I also, if that had really, in the past, that would have truly bothered the guys that I was attracting. And they would have thought, well, who does she think she is? And, they would have passed on me. Or I would have found myself saying, sure, absolutely, no problem. I'll make my schedule completely clear. And then again, I would have attracted the same kind of guy over and over again. But because I spent that time in silence, really working on myself, I came to the conclusion that I was looking for someone to share my life, not be my life.
Right.
And I think when you can come at it from that perspective of that strong foundation that you talked about, it makes the world of difference, because you brought up a really good point when you said keep your eyes open for red flags. This is the honeymoon period. When you're dating someone, they're supposed to be putting their best foot forward. And if they're disrespecting you or they're not kind to you, okay, you think about that's happening in the first 6 months or so. Now amplify that. If you're looking at thinking about spending the rest of your life with this person, what's it going to be when the honeymoon shine wears off and all bets are off and like warts and all, everything comes out? Are you going to be able to handle that person? And if not, don't sign up for that. If you can't stand 10 minutes of this, don't sign up for 10 years or a lifetime of it, right? So I'm really glad you brought those points up.
Mm-hmm.
Super
Yeah,
important.
it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And,
Mm-hmm.
we as women have to be aware
Mm-hmm.
of the possibilities of dangers that we can put
Mm-hmm.
ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, if I will tell the audience that if ever you're in a situation early on and somebody says something to you that brings up something like a red flag or fear or danger, get away, and
Yep.
get away quick, and don't ever return,
Mm-hmm.
because your life is valuable and nobody has the right to treat you in any way that's disrespectful.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you
Mhm.
said that. So important, because again, that goes back to if they're treating you this way now, right? I think a lot of times when there's certain predatory people, they look for that. They're testing the waters. Oh, really? She let me say that to her? Let's see what else I can get away with. And by you
Mhm.
standing up for yourself and saying that, yeah, that's not going to fly. That's not what I allow in my life. You're coming at it from an abundance mentality, right? Listen, buddy, my girlfriend said to me once in college that was so funny. She said, guys are just like buses. There'll be another one along every minute. Like, And I thought, and obviously that's not true, but I thought that that was kind of an interesting perspective, that like we put so much value and so much importance on impressing that one guy. Listen, if it's not working out for you, there's a million of them. And I would rather be by myself for the right reasons than to be with somebody else for the wrong reasons, just because I'm
Mhm.
lonely or, I need that sense of validation. So I think the work that you are doing is so tremendously important. And it's also, I wish I would have had you when I got back from that date and I went online and said, "What? He's online right now." Right. I needed a helpline, or I could have called and said, like talk you back from the edge to listen, he doesn't know you enough on a personal level to reject you. Like these guys, they spend 2 hours with you. And if they don't ever want to see you again, toodaloo, right? They don't know you enough to reject you. So
That's
I
correct.
I love that you're like the wingman, right? You're the love coach wingman. I love that. I love that.
It's cute. I
So
like that too.
if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what would you tell yourself about dating and kind of navigating romance and, you know, love lives and
So for me, I have to go back to 18 instead of, because
oh,
by 25, I was married for a while and
mhm,
already had a child. So,
mhm,
so if I go back to my 18 self, I would say stop trying to be an adult. Give yourself
mm,
time to continue to learn and to realize how smart I am and that I don't need to be in a relationship or get married at such a young age.
mm.
Allow myself the time to grow and evolve. That's what I would have told myself at 18.
I love that. I'm getting teary eyed because I think that's such an important message, especially for young women to hear. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think that certainly, I think it's evolving as we go through generation from like women today, younger
Mm-hmm.
women today are like, I don't know, I'm working on myself first. That
Mm-hmm.
certainly wasn't the message. I heard that
Right.
message from my mother growing up, but I certainly didn't hear that message from society growing up. When I was growing up, it was, well, who are you dating? Or, you would go off to college to find your spouse, right? That's what that
Right.
was what you did. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad that you're bringing up that point about, it's okay to just spend some time and learn about yourself.
Right.
Super important because that creates a foundation for everything, for
Right.
everything.
It
Do you
does.
have, go ahead.
I was just going to add that just so the audience gets a sense is that we were high school sweethearts. So we had been dating for 3 years. But
Mm-hmm.
there were so many things in my family's environment that pushed me towards
Ah,
him. And, hindsight, of course, is 2020. But at the age of 18, pie in the sky and life is going to be wonderful. And, everything's going to be hunky dory because we're going to get married and I'm going to get out of my parents' house. And,
yeah.
all the things that were going through my head and that I couldn't live without this guy and all that stuff. And, he was a wonderful person and the
Mm-hmm.
father of my daughters. So I can't deny what went on. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sorry what happened. But, when you ask the question, what would you say to your younger self? What would you do differently? That's the message I'm trying to give. But I
Mm-hmm.
know why I did what I did,
Sure.
you know. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I love that. And I think a lot of times people are trying to get into a relationship to get out of another something, right, that's going on in their lives. We look at that.
Mhm.
And so, again, that goes back to that work of really working on yourself. Because that way, too, when you're not, I think that when you're in a really healthy relationship, the two of you continue to grow. That's just, you
Mhm.
grow together, hopefully, but you're
Yeah.
still continuing to grow as a person. And so I think it's really valuable that the both of you, when you come into a relationship, have taken some time out to think about who you really are, because you don't want to, it would probably present a real challenge to a relationship to figure that out on the fly, right? When you're in a relationship. And I think that would just add a little bit more thing to the way. And I think that One of the best advice that I think my mother gave about relationships is that you're going to have your ups and your downs, right? There's going to be years when you look at your husband and think, now, why did I marry him again, right? And certainly not maybe years, but certainly days when you're like, what was I thinking? And then there's going to be other times when you're like, I can't believe I've been married this long or with him so long, and I'm still head over heels in love with him. And that's just, you're going to have the peaks and the valleys in relationships, and certainly in dating as well. So I love
Yeah,
that. I love that there's people that
exactly.
exist. I love that there's people that exist like you, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you
Is there
so much.
anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we go? Or?
Well, I do have a free gift.
Awesome. I was just going to ask, how can people work with you? And do you have anything you could share with us?
Yes. So I do. So with my free gift, it's called the do's and don'ts on a first date, safety issues, etc., about being on a
Mm-hmm.
first date. When you sign up for that, you'll start getting my weekly emails. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want to work with me, which I would love to work with you, I
Of
do have some
course.
slots available on my schedule currently. And you can either go to my website or you can message me through Facebook and let's talk.
Awesome. And I put down the banner at the bottom, the best you dating, and there's her URL for that. And then if you're looking for just the website, obviously it's just thebestyoutating.com. Perfect.
Well, the website actually is my name. It's
Oh, that's
Barbara
right.
I.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
let
okay.
me
It's
put that in.
barbariclein.com. And you can sign up for my newsletters there and you can sign up to speak with me directly.
There we go. BarbaraIKlein.com, right?
What? Yes.
Okay,
And I
perfect.
and you tagged me on this live so
Mhm.
you can, message me through Messenger.
Mhm.
So I am accessible.
Awesome. And I will put this information down below our live. So they'll have both of those links as well. And then, of
Great.
course, I'll put your Facebook information on there as well.
Wonderful.
Oh, Miss Barbara, thank you so much for being there for people so they don't have to go in alone. It's a scary little place sometimes navigating the world of online dating. And so I so appreciate the fact that you're there for everybody.
Thank you, Heather. And I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about this. And
Of course.
and I love our time when we engage with each other on a regular basis.
I do too. And I love that this fits so nicely into being bold, because you do have to be bold to navigate going out online, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it. So, and
It
it was worth
really
having
is.
you. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. It was worth having you here today. I just simply adore you and I love being in your space, and I love everything you're doing in the world. So take care,
Thank,
everybody. Thank you so much for joining
thank
us
you,
today.
everybody. Love you, Heather.
I love you too. I'll see you in
Thank
a little bit,
you.
Barbara. We're going to jump on a coaching call with our coach in a few minutes. So we will
Yes,
see
we
you.
will.
And I'll see our audience again here next Tuesday, high noon Pacific Standard Time. Bye.